Hello, everyone. Thank you, Alice, so much for that amazing keynote. And I have the pleasure of announcing our next session, which is leaning into the paradigm shift with Shiseido Group and NARS Cosmetics. And it's my pleasure to announce Angelica Munson, a Global Chief Digital Officer from Shiseido, who's going to be moderating the session, and Julia Sloan, SVP Global Marketing and Integrated Communications from NARS, who's going to talk about the paradigm shift within the NARS organization. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Adam. Julia, it's such a pleasure to speak with you today about how NARS Cosmetics is leading the way in leveraging technology to drive innovation, not only for the Shiseido Group, but for the beauty industry.
Thanks so much, Angelica. I'm so thrilled to be here. So what do you say? Let's get it going.
Well, let's get going. So can you tell us more about how NARS is embracing digital transformation, especially how the use of technology is really helping the brand during the pandemic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, I mean, NARS is a brand that has always been at the forefront of digital transformation. And when I say digital transformation, what I really mean specifically is, improving the user experience on site and making it easier for consumers to shop for makeup online, which can be really tricky. And believe it or not, before the pandemic, in the fall of 2019, we really looked to industry leader Perfect Core and their UCAM solution to launch virtual try-on for some of our most iconic products within, the lip, the cheek, and the eye categories on our US brand.com. And you can see on this slide, it's a really easy toggle. And from a consumer experience perspective, it's so simple. And in fact, during the first 2 months that we launched this, we had over 50,000 consumers engaging with the tool. We also had conversions 3 times higher than average site visitors. And lastly, and here's a staggering number, Angelica, just guess for fun, for lip, how many shades is our consumer trying on virtually? Just guess.
Maybe 15.
Yeah, no, 27. That's the average. So people are really engaged with the tool. And, we saw such success with color. Complexion is such an important part of our business. It's a really large part of our business and it's a priority. And so consumers were asking for shade matching with, foundations and different sort of complexion elements. And so we planned on doing it. And of course, the pandemic hit. Stores closed, retail traffic moved online completely. So we worked with Perfect Core to really accelerate the launch of the Shade Finder, which we called Matchmaker, which is very on brand for us. And we launched it in the summer of 2020. And in fact, you can see it on this slide, also a very easy user experience. And so, we wanted to meet at the time, we realized, consumers were shopping online and we wanted to meet the needs that they had, and they were looking for these skincare, makeup hybrids. So this was the perfect time for us, really.
Definitely, that appetite for skincare makeup hybrids is really so important now. Can you share with us a little bit more about how you leverage that AI shade finder, but more specifically, how did you design that NARS experience so it laddered to the brand's DNA? Because there really should be that point of difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, anything we create is really, usually custom built, and it's always with the consumer in mind. So, we wanted to allow, shade matching across all of our complexion products, so that they could not only find, the right shade, but the right foundation product based on what their coverage needs were, right? Because everybody has different coverage needs. So what we did with Shade Matchers that we highlighted our entire foundation category rather than just one product. We wanted to see representation across all of our extensive range of formulas, as well as, the diverse shade range. And as an artistry brand, we're very specific with color and with complexion. And so we worked really closely with Perfect Core to make sure that we were getting the shades right. We sent them the products, they were shade matching everything to make sure it was spot on. And today, I'm really proud to say that Matchmaker is now live in over 10 countries. And it is positively impacting our consumer decision journey and driving our complexion category business.
It's so impressive, and I really applaud you guys for the amount of shades that are available to so many different women and men. So this has been really successful. In addition to what you just shared with us, I know there's many things in the toolbox. So how else did you keep your consumers engaged during this past year?
Yeah, we were laser focused. And we prioritized digital innovation in everything we did. Retail stores continued to be closed, and we saw a significant need to enhance the consumer decision journey by bringing our artists and that content. Oops, for some reason, I got ahead of myself. I got too excited.
Exciting.
So I know I have some exciting things to share. But so we really saw the need to sort of prioritize, getting our artists and getting that experience that consumers were getting in store at home. How could they experience that at home? And so in April, we launched the first virtual store within the Shiseido Group, which is very exciting. And so we incorporated both of the AR try-on tools from Perfect Core with the immersive in-store experience our consumers were accustomed to. And now I will show you that video.
Amazing. Just really stunning.
Wasn't that fun?
I want to go shopping right now, actually.
You should. I can maybe extend a discount. I know. It's so fun with makeup and color. And I can even actually set you up with one of our makeup artists virtually if you'd like. But,
I would love that.
To that point, actually, around the time the pandemic hit, we piloted a live streaming platform to connect our consumers with our artists in a really meaningful way. And so that was really important because our consumers were really craving that sort of that content, that artistry, those tips, those looks that they were getting by going in store. And we also, as a result, were able to link our AR tools to find, their perfect shade and color. So our most recent on the left is Katie Jane Hughes. She's an incredible makeup artist that we love working with. And, as a result from her video, the AOV was plus 20% versus the site average. So we really saw that as successful. And in fact, we just kept this going, even with stores opening back up.
Super impressive. The AOV increase was really stunning. And I think that as you continue this, it'll be interesting given, the need to design that omni-channel journey, especially as brick and mortar begins to open around the globe. What's your advice for brands? How can they better design and activate this 360-degree experience for their consumers?
Yeah. Well, I think, the earlier mentioned digital tools that we spoke to, they're really strong on their own. And digital transformation and true consumer connections really only happens when there is a strong multimedia, cohesive 360-degree approach. And all the tools are connected throughout the consumer decision journey. And I keep talking about the consumer decision journey because it's really important to look at it all cohesively. So for instance, when we launched the Color VTO online, we immediately saw that this tool could be beneficial in retail stores. And so this ultimately is a service that really helps to, I would say, create an enhanced digital experience offline, while also implementing an easier solution for the consumer, whether they're traveling in a busy, where they're going to like a busy space, or they're traveling, or they're trying to figure out which shades they want to select, or that's right for them, with like a no touch area. This is really the best solution we had. We're able to offer a personalized no touch solution, so that consumers felt comfortable, finding a shade that worked for them. And this tool is actually live in Eastern and Western markets globally. And
That's great.
yeah, and I have to say, it's, throughout the journey, consumers are seeing this tool and they're using this tool on their phones, and then they're going in store. So it's the same sort of seamless experience.
Yeah, back to your point, it's all about making, very relevant and frictionless, right? So it's a smooth journey. To that note, we talk a lot about technology, about the connections, but, at the center of it is really that beauty associate, is that artistry. So how have you been able to keep that personalized human touch during this time?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first question we asked ourselves, because, we're an artistry brand. Makeup artists and beauty consultants are at the heart of our success at NARS, and they are the ones touching and talking to the consumer day in and day out. So, during the pandemic, we leveraged our incredibly talented makeup artists, and we offered virtual consultations with consumers, to bring that personal touch to their home. And then, of course, we needed to empower our artists, and arm them for the right tools, to be able to give product recommendations and shade recommendations. And so they were able to leverage the VTO and Matchmaker to service the consumer in a way. It just keeps going ahead. I don't know why. I'm just going to click back a few times. This is exciting content we do not need to share just yet. I'm going to stop touching. I have this amazing remote control that's very virtual,
It's
but
technology.
I think technology. This is not Laura Mercier. This is NARS Cosmetics. Oh, we're live on the screen. Okay. So I'll just keep talking. So basically, these artists, they were talking to consumers, and, they needed a solution to try and figure out how to shade match the consumers that they were on the phone with, or they were on the computer with. And it was really, really helpful to give them those tools that they were able to rely on.
That's fantastic. As I mentioned before, that this, now that we're seeing stores open, across multiple markets, how are you approaching events? Events have always been very central to brands, definitely for NARS. So I'd love for you to kind of share your perspective on events and how you're activating them.
Yeah, so I personally believe, and we believe at NARS, that an omni-channel experience is all about the events, right? So whether they're out of home or they're online. And by the way, that's especially true in Asia. And before I even go into more detail, I did want to show an incredible video that highlights a complexion event in China. So if you could play the video. I mean, I have to say the events in Asia are larger than life. And so, out-of-home eventing is a key piece to create a successful launch and an immersive experience. And it's expected in today's climate, if you think about it, for a brand to bring that experience and that excitement online. So we actually try and do both at the same time, so consumers can really access the event, in person or virtually.
That's fabulous. Knowing that that future is shifting to this highly engaged, personal consumer experience, in your point of view, how do you think brands can best connect with this modern day beauty consumer that has very high demands?
Yeah, I mean, you need to target her wherever she is. So if you look at this slide, I think, the story tells itself quite easily. And so really it's simply by meeting them within their journey, where they're engaging and where they're shopping, right? So, for instance, VTO, right? So consumers can not only engage with this tool on brand.com, they can do it in stores, but within our own social channels. So as you can see on this slide, we really took advantage of Perfect Core's strong platform partnerships that include Google, Instagram, Facebook, Snap, and it ultimately allowed us, to incorporate AR effects into owned content within the media journey. And it was great because, all the shade matching had been done. So it was kind of just like lifting it from one platform and putting it into another. And I think what's really interesting too, as you look at the journey with VTO, consideration is being furthered on social media and conversion is happening on .com. So it's really, truly this intersection of consideration and conversion. And let me just say this, as a brand, when we connect with new partners, it's so key that services work across multiple platforms, creating this seamless journey for the consumer in a highly engaged relationship with NARS.
It's a great point, Julia, because I know NARS, that engagement is not just on your D2C brands, your retailer shops, on platforms like WeChat, et cetera. So really, well said. So, with seeing all of this and all of really the compressed, time frame where technological innovations and activations happen so concentrated within the last, 16, 18 months, what's next for the brand regarding innovation and also, again, designing that omni-channel experience?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. A lot of brands are asking themselves that, right? So, we're really building on successes and learnings from our 2021 pilots. So next year in 22, we're going to be focused on the expansion of our presence within gaming and the metaverse. The metaverse is sort of a key word that you keep hearing over and over and over again. And we're going to do this via the development of visually distinctive and immersive experiences that ultimately reflect NARS's unique DNA, right? We empower play, creativity, self-expression is core to who we are. And I have to say, Angelica, the most exciting is the metaverse. It ultimately represents this unparalleled opportunity to express ourselves, to express the brand digitally and to explore alternate revenue streams. So this is something that we did with Zepeto, you'll see in the next slide, but ultimately we're capitalizing on consumer demand for virtual makeup looks and products.
Yeah, I could see how the NARS audience and also prospective audiences would really be drawn to that. And I saw, and last year you partnered with 2 gaming platforms actually this year. So can you share a little bit more about that activation?
Yeah, so this is Zepeto. This is the first one. But ultimately, we launched 2 innovative partnerships to drive awareness and engagement for our lip launch this fall that just happened. And it is Air Matte Lip Color. You should all run out and buy it. I'm wearing it right now. It's amazing. But these activations ultimately, capitalized on key emerging trends, right? So the rise of gaming and virtual worlds. And ultimately, by doing this, we also were able to reinforce our commitment to digital innovation. So Zepeto on this slide, which is such a fun project to work on. We developed an in-game partnership with them to reach audiences in key Asia markets, right? So Asia, Zepeto does extremely well in Asia and has a high engagement rate there. And users were able to create hyper-personalized 3D avatars. They were able to purchase virtual goods and engage with friends in a highly articulated and visually sophisticated digital world. And the next one we worked on was with Dressed, equally as exciting. So although Zepeto was really, for Asia, we wanted to come up with a gaming solution that worked for our Western markets. And so Dressed is a mobile challenge-based luxury styling game that allowed us to reach gaming audiences in the US and the UK. And NARS was just one of 2 premier launch partners for the beauty mode, which was a new challenge offering where users can unlock virtual NARS products to create one-of-a-kind makeup looks using Air Matte lip color, and some of our core products. So it was really exciting.
That's great, Julia. It's working with affinity categories. The metaverse really unlocks these different types of partnerships. Beyond beauty. So the question I have is, it's super cool, but how do you measure success and impact when you start testing and activating these new innovations?
Yeah. So, in terms of measuring success, we have to assess each integration differently. So within Zepeto, we were focused on driving brand engagement and the sale of virtual goods. And let me just say, we sold so many more goods than we thought we would. I'm just going to go back one slide just to remind you. So you can see the goods on the slide here. I mean, we developed like a shirt and roller skates and a bag. We also sold, like mascara. So, avatars had these like crazy, amazing lashes. So we were actually almost 400% over the benchmark when it came to the sale of virtual goods. And then for dress, next on this slide, our KPIs were really challenge entries and time spent. So both exceeded benchmarks. And we had an average of 7 minutes spent per brand challenge. And so that's so much time and engagement within the world of NARS that is really, really important for us in terms of building brand awareness and building brand love.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think that it's also gathering, consumer interest and what is resonating with them for your next, experience that you're designing. Those are all great results. And I know, in addition to gaming, NARS has also been a pioneer actually within the NFT space very early on. And I'd love for you to share with the audience, a little more details about what happened and where you see the future for NARS and NFT.
Yeah. So actually, you're absolutely right. NARS was one of the first brands in beauty to capitalize on the NFT trend. We released a collection created to commemorate our most iconic product. Some of you may or may not know that is Orgasm Blush. Yes, Orgasm Blush. And we timed that to, so cheeky and fun. We timed that to National Orgasm Day, which was July 31st. So yeah,
as you should.
I mean, as one should, we want to own that day. And so we worked with 3 female creatives to create unique digital works that were inspired by orgasm's sensorial nature, its unmistakable hue. And actually, I want to show you what we did. So these are the 3 different NFTs. So the first one is created by Sarah Shaquille. You can kind of see the crystals gleaming in here. And Sarah Shaquille is a contemporary crystal artist who's amazing. The second one that I'm going to play is by Azed Jean-Pierre, who's a fashion designer and multimedia artist. Very different, very futuristic, very bold. Again, how people interpret and experience orgasms are different around the world. And then the last is with Nina Kravitz. She is a DJ and music producer, singer. And you can see this was, one second. So sorry about that. It's so much fun.
That's great.
Your home. Yeah, no, so that was great. What's really interesting is that, Nina Kravitz, that NFT, was priced at, $500 and we only had 3 available. Guess what? They sold out within an hour. So it was like immediately they sold out. And in total, we had over 2,000 NFTs that were redeemed. And ultimately what this confirmed for us was the digital collectibles and virtual goods present an opportunity to create new revenue streams for NARS. And we're excited to be doing that even more in the next few years to come. And it's really just one area of digital exploration for the brand. We're looking to pilot additional programs incorporating virtual goods in 2022 as well.
It's great. I mean, you have such an engaged audience. You know, orgasm is such a iconic line, and you have so many beauty artists, right, that can interpret it. So it can almost be like a crowdsourcing, you know, as you take this maybe campaign to the next
Mhm.
iteration. So thank you so much for sharing that. Super exciting. I just want to thank you, Julia, you know, for sharing this virtual stage with me and sharing your insights and experience. And just in closing, you know, we have a varied audience, you know, on the line today. Any advice for our audience members and how to best meet the needs of these ever evolving consumer decision journey?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot of advice, so I've really had to think about it and pare it down. I mean, I have three pieces of advice, right? So, one, test and learn in everything that you do. The landscape is moving so fast. The only way you can keep up is by allocating, you know, a specific budget every year to testing and learning. And with that, the second piece of advice is also just don't be scared or afraid of failure. Fail often and fail fast. You know, get your key learnings and move on. Don't dwell on the past. And the third really has to do with, you know, that personal touch, that real human connection. You know, we're talking about the digital space and everything that we're doing to connect with the consumer virtually, but ultimately it really comes back down to the teams, right? So it's hiring the best. Don't settle for someone that you don't think is maybe the right person because you want to fill that seat. You know, none of this at NARS would be possible without the best team in the business, which we have.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think regarding, you know, your first point about failing often and failing fast, I think where NARS has really been successful is being very disciplined about, you know, what's the goal, what's the mission, and how are you measuring what
Mhm.
you consider success? You know, whether it's engagement, whether it's conversion, whether it's learning more to then evolve the next chapter of what you're building. So absolutely. And then the second point about, you know, people, you know, I would agree. I think, you know, having the right team, the right mindset, and
Mhm.
having varied skill sets to really, you know, envision this and then build it and then run it. And again, take the insights from the data. Super important. I have the pleasure of working with you, Julia, and the entire NARS team globally. And I would say it's a stellar team. You guys have done so much in the last few years, and you continue to innovate. And with that, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Perfect Corp for having us here as guests. And I want to thank the audience today for spending your time with us. Have a
Thank you
great
so
day.